If your company culture sucks, it's not just a vibe problem, it's a business problem. And it's probably the reason why you're bleeding talent and killing productivity. Let's be real, nobody wants to work in a place where values are just posters on the wall. Toxic culture isn't just annoying, it's expensive. But here's the kicker. Most leaders think that they have a great culture. Spoiler alert, you don't. But fixing it, way easier than you think, and it starts right at the top. Let's break down why your culture is trash and what's making it worse. If the only time culture comes up is during your hiring or your performance reviews, you don't have a culture, you have corporate fluff. A real culture shows up how you lead, how you communicate, and how you handle conflict. Let me be crystal clear, if your leadership isn't walking the talk, everything else falls apart. The second thing is that you tolerate toxic behavior. One bad manager, one negative Nancy, one manipulative exec. If you're letting that slide because they bring results, congrats. You're endorsing toxicity. Your silence might be approval. Your team watches what leadership allows, and if dysfunction is at the top, it spreads everywhere throughout your business. Good employees don't stick around when drama is rewarded and respect is optional. You can't build a healthy culture on top of an unchecked dysfunction. The third thing is that you've mistaken perks for purpose. Let me guess, you've got free snacks, casual Fridays, and maybe a ping pong table in the break room. Cool, but if your people feel disrespected, unheard, or undervalued, those perks are just lipsticks on a pig. Culture isn't about perks, it's about how people feel when they show up to work for you. Ask yourself this, would I want my son or daughter to work here? If the answer is no, then that will tell you everything. I worked for a company once that claimed to have a people-first attitude. They had swag, they had parties, they had endless corporate emails about values like respect and transparency, but behind closed doors, management trash talked about employees, feedback was ignored, and they promoted some toxic leaders over and over. What was the result of this? The employee morale tanked, retention was a disaster, innovation was dead on arrival. No one trusted anyone. Everyone was just in survival mode. And leadership, they were oblivious to it. The best people, they left quietly. The ones who stayed, they checked out. You've heard the term quiet quitting before. This is a real thing in toxic culture businesses. That's what a broken culture looks like. It's not always loud. Sometimes it's quiet quitting, widespread apathy, what they refer to as death by 1,000 cuts. And none of this will change until leadership owns it. Culture change doesn't start at the bottom. It will have to stop at the top. Most of the time, the people that are at the bottom notice it first because they're the ones that are getting the front end of it. But it has to start at the top, at the very, very top before culture can change. So how do we build a culture that is sustaining for your employees? Let's flip it. Here's how you fix your broken culture fast. Number one, start with your leadership behavior. Your leaders are your culture, period. They set the tone. What they allow, what they reward, what they ignore, that's what sets the tone. If you want a better culture, start with better leaders. If your leadership team isn't modeling respect, accountability, and humility, nothing else matters. And I'll take it a step further and suggest that a lot of times managers are promoted because they are good employees. They're the ones that are grinding and they're the ones that are getting their numbers. But just remember, just because somebody is really good at a job does not make them a good leader of people. You've got to teach them how to be leaders on top of how to do a good job for you. The second thing is you get brutally honest with the feedback, not the fluffy survey stuff, real, raw, anonymous feedback, right? Ask, what's one thing that makes you feel undervalued here at our company? Do you trust your manager? Would you recommend working here to a friend? And here's the hard part, actually do something with those answers that you get from the people, because if you don't, you're not going to change your culture. The next thing is you really got to make your values actionable. You know, a lot of companies will state that they have values like integrity and teamwork. They'll throw it up on the wall. Define what they look like in practice, right? What does integrity mean in a meeting, in a crisis, when making decisions? Train your culture. Promote based on the people that hold those values and show those values in your workplace. Because values without action, that's just noise. So here's the challenge that I have for you. You need to audit your culture. Be honest. What do your people actually feel when they walk through the door? And more important, are your leaders setting the tone you actually want in your workforce? Because if they're not, the culture you think you have is just a story that you're telling yourself. It's just words on the wall. Now, if you're serious about turning things around and you want a fast win to start shifting your culture the right way, check out my Onboarding Essentials Kit. There's a link down in the description. It's a simple but powerful toolkit that helps you stop throwing new hires into the fire and start building trust and clarity from day one. And yes, better onboarding is one step in building a real good culture at your workplace. Make sure you also drop a comment, right? What's the most toxic workplace behavior that you've seen in your organization? I want to hear the horror stories. And yeah, I reply to every comment. And next time, we're also taking the gloves off and we're going to talk about, are your employees lazy or is it your fault? The truth hurts, because let's face it, sometimes the problem isn't the people, it's you. Make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss the next one.